In the legal world, there is a combination of forces that feed a corrupt and suffocating legal system for attorneys. Law schools, law professionals, judges, and even the firms themselves for whom you work create a system, a matrix, if you will, that is nothing like what you thought when you passed the bar exam. The purpose of this podcast is to help you escape this legal matrix, leading you out of the proverbial desert to be free of the bondage of the matrix. Hosted by Bryce D. Nyer, attorney at law with over 30 years experience in the trenches of civil and criminal litigation at the state, federal, and international levels. He's a highly accomplished and resourceful legal professional, a true master of his craft, and he's here to help you get your life back. Here's your host, Bryce D. Nyer.
All right. This is Bryce D. Nyer coming at you live from Fayetteville, North Carolina, home of Fort Bragg, for another episode of Escape the Legal Matrix. And we're going to talk about something hot to trot tonight, which is constantly in the news, constantly happening. And guess what that subject is? Come on, guess. What is it? It is Lawfare. Ooh, I know, right? I know. It's a beautiful idea, but it's not a beautiful idea. Let me tell you about Lawfare. And we need to discuss this because for a long time, at least the past 10 years and the most recent, probably for 4 more years, Lawfare has been used to try and silence truth. And those that live and operate and speak the truth, people have used the courts as this vehicle for vindictive, baseless litigation in criminal and civil matters to silence their political opponents or silence people that come forward and tell the truth, to expose the corrupt ones in our world. And it's not funny. Now, I don't care whether, for example, you like President Trump or not. That's your business. Whatever the hell you want to do, that's up to you. But I can tell you, as an experienced attorney in litigation and appellate work, domestically and internationally, for over 30 years, the crap that went on in President Trump's civil and criminal cases was just pure crap. It's just pure crap. And the problem is, most people get snippets, and then you have trials by social media. And people don't understand the law. And if you're not trained in the law, if you don't know the rules of criminal procedure, the rules of civil procedure, the rules of evidence, then you frankly don't know what the hell you're talking about. You just don't. And it just makes my head explode when all these keyboard warriors, these keyboard legal pundits, Perry Masons, Matlocks come out of the woodwork and are like, I got to be guilty. Yeah, you get. No, you don't know that. You don't know. And so what you see is the crap that the mainstream fake media puts on about anybody. I don't care whether it's President Trump or anybody else. It could be you. How do you feel when somebody makes an accusation against you at work or on the internet? Or maybe you're going through a divorce and your spouse makes allegation. You're like, well, that ain't true. And people say, well, it must be true because it's in a lawsuit. I bet it's true. How does that make you feel? Is that real due process? The answer is no. And I tell you, I've just never seen such an abuse of the legal system as I have over the last couple of years. It's like crazy town, vindictive litigation on steroids. And that crap needs to stop. Now, on the good note, people are fighting back. And they're moving to attack and go on the offensive against those that wield their power in a corrupt manner to become all powerful and all knowing. And you saw this happen, especially around the world during COVID in 2020, 2021. It was horrible. I've never seen such an abuse of governmental power and abuse by judicial systems or administrative hearings as I did during the COVID period. It was despicable. And quite frankly, many of the world leaders or those that perpetuated that insanity, they should be in prison for life. They ruined people's lives. And as I sat and I watched many times over the last couple of years, people that were railroaded in federal and state court based on political beliefs and political agendas, it was disgusting. It was reminiscent of Nazi Germany in 1933 when Hitler came to power. It was reminiscent of when Stalin came to power, when Mao came to power in communist China, North Korea, certain countries in the Middle East. It's ridiculous, and what was happening is the United States was becoming a banana republic by use of this lawfare in the judicial system. It's crazy town. And then what did you have? You had, 1.3 million active lawyers according to the American Bar Association. And what? How many of them actually stood up and said something? I'm going to tell you, not very many. Not very many. Some of them even perpetuated it. And if you're silent, then you are a co-conspirator with it. You can't just sit back and let people get railroaded by the legal system for political persecution reasons or other. Because if you do that, they're going to come after you next. The minute you step out of line, they're coming after you. That's become extremely evident recently with some of the folks in a certain political party, where some of the members have said, no, I can't, that just, even for me, that crosses the line. Well, then what happens? The rats eat their own. It's a rat race where the rats have been winning. And rats do what when they're starving? They eat each other till it's down to the two final rats. And that's what happens. The rat race. The judicial rat race. Where lawyers become $3 an hour monkeys, okay, where somebody's playing the music and they do their bidding. You can't have that, not in a constitutional republic. This is a deeply passionate subject of mine, this whole thing of lawfare, because it just continues to be crazy. And thank God there are those that are standing up now and trying to put a stop to it, that are fighting to put a stop to this incredible insanity in our judiciary at the federal level and the state level, where you have activist judges acting like legislators, interfering with the other branches of state or federal government, or they're using federal or state agencies to basically bear down on anybody that would exercise their state or federal constitutional rights. And I'm telling you, folks, you better wake up, you better listen, and you better look, and you better read, and you better be informed, and you better pay attention to what the hell is going on out there in your country here. Because every single day, your U.S. Congress or some state legislature, some insane lunatic is drafting this insane, delusional, deceptive legislation to get passed into law by the clown circus at the executive level, at the state levels, and prior at the federal levels. And they became so entrenched that nobody even noticed. See, folks, you have to pay attention to what's going on in the judicial branch. The judicial branch is the most powerful of them all. And why is that? It's because they interpret the laws. The appellate courts are the most powerful because they can reverse or affirm a decision of the trial court. And ultimately, it's a U.S. Supreme Court. And if they don't have their ethics together, if they're delusional, if they're deceptive, if they're on the take, if they've sold their souls, we're screwed. It's as simple as that. I've sat there and watched people going for judicial appointments, whether at the state or the federal, or they run for election at the state level. At the federal level, they're appointed. And what comes out of their mouths when they're asked simple questions, I'm just like, what planet are you on? What crack have you been taking? What have you been smoking to give such a response? I'll never forget at the time of one of our current Supreme Court justices when they asked her for the definition or define what a woman was. Now, come on. It doesn't take a rocket scientist. I can solve that here. Confused about Jesus? Look up. Confused about your gender? Look down. There, I just now saved you 4 years in college of gender studies, which is a worthless degree anyway, and just saved you thousands of dollars in tuition and all that studying. Not sure what you're going to study. Pretty basic course you would take in health class in 6th or 7th grade. But even then, as a toddler, you should know what you are, a male or a female. But no, we get the judicial pundits, the delusional, the deceived that go out there and get in these judicial leadership positions and do what? They twist and turn and spin the law. It's crazy. It's crazy as I've watched some of these nomination hearings for the federal judges at the Federal Court of Appeals or the U.S. Supreme Court and what they say. It's just crazy how anybody could come to certain decisions. And look, don't think for a second their personal emotions or their agendas don't come into play, because they do. And how do you know they do? Because when they're asked certain questions, like, again, define woman, what a woman is, and they dance around it, I mean, come on. That's just moronic and stupid. And so you see this going on all of the time. You need to really take this deep look at who your judges are, what's going on in the judicial branch. Because I'm telling you, if you don't, those laws are going to get passed into the legislature, signed into law by the governors or at the federal level by the president. And you better look and see what the hell they're signing and what they're doing. This is why I was always kind of concerned about executive orders, regardless of who's in office, regardless. Because you start having this, waving of the pen. Everything's an executive order. And I don't care who's in office. You just start signing all this crap, and all of a sudden people are getting arrested, picked up, persecuted, prosecuted, you name it. And that became clearly evident during COVID across the world. Across the world. It was like the new Stasi. It was like Stalin and Mao, and Hitler just all marching together across the globe. And people's lives were ruined. People even died because of the corrupt people in these agencies and in the judicial branch. I even experienced it going to court one time during COVID with the mask, and some judge jumping in my ass about this thing, about the masks. And I couldn't understand a word he was saying. And finally I said, Judge, I can't understand what you're saying. Well, then he pulled his mask down and starts talking. But he was chewing me out because I was in the back hallway by myself and I pulled my mask down so I could breathe. This is how stupid we've gotten. We've taken common sense and we've just completely eradicated it in the judicial branch. And so what happens is you have judicial chaos. And then you form this thing called lawfare, where basically you just make up the rules as you go, misapply the law, spin it, twist it to serve your agenda to persecute your opponents. And my friends, that's a dangerous thing. That's a mighty dangerous thing. You don't want that to happen. Because remember, the state or the feds can come take you, your kids, your money, your property, and even your life. And sometimes without any due process at all. Everybody sits there and bitches about the U.S. Constitution, all these left lunatics. Well, let me tell you, without a U.S. Constitution, if it's not enforced, if you don't defend it, if you don't let it rise to the occasion to act as a shield against oppression, you're screwed. The founding fathers knew this. They were smart. They were geniuses. They saw the future. They saw the abuse by England of King George and what was happening in the colonies at the time. It was not good. The British at that time were not nice guys and girls. They just weren't. They were barging in people's homes, quartering their troops, taxing the colonists to death, executing people without due process. It wasn't good. Boarding ships, seizing things, stamp tax, all of it. Until finally the colonists just got pissed off and they'd had enough. Had enough. And see that, folks, that's what's going to happen here. You don't rein in your judicial branch. You don't keep them under check. They work for you. They serve you. It's not the other way around. This has been the whole problem at the federal and state governmental levels. I don't care what they are, whether it's DMV, whether it's getting your license for your boat, I don't care what it is. You let government agencies get out of control, and they just become absolutely corrupt with power. Their lust for power to control everything you do. Think about it. From the day you're born, you get a social security number, you get a birth certificate. You can't get married without a marriage certificate in most states, American territories. You can't. Even when you die, you get a death certificate. You got to have a driver's license to drive a vehicle. Got to have a hunting license to go hunting. Got to have a fishing license to go fish. You got to have all these damn licenses to do everything. A privilege license to do business in some states. Think about it. Everything in your life is controlled by something legal. It's insane. It's just this quagmire, this matrix. This is what I've been talking about, this legal matrix. And once it keeps growing and building, it's a monster. It's a monster like Goliath. Well, it took a David with a sling and a rock to bring down Goliath. That's what your legal matrix has become. It's become the new Goliath. And if you're not careful, if you don't stand up and you don't be David and you don't put a rock in that sling and go out there and have faith and move forward and slay Goliath, God's going to slay you. So yeah, this is one of my most passive subjects, lawfare insanity. So ask yourself, where in your world have you suffered from lawfare? Or where in your world have you seen lawfare and you failed to stand up and do something about it? Especially you law students and you active lawyers who have skill sets to go out there and do the right thing, but you fail to do it. You fail to say anything. You fail to stand up. This is what happened in Nazi Germany. This is what happened. They failed to stand up and stop the evil empire. They failed to stop it, and millions died. Millions died. And that can happen here too. It can happen here. In fact, it is happening. So think about it. Lawfare. Put a stop to it. Kill it in its tracks. Stop it before it comes to your door. And it will come to your door if you don't stop it. This is Bryce United coming at you live from Fayetteville, North Carolina, home of Fort Bragg, where every day men and women don in uniform and do what? They go out and wage war against the very enemies that would seek to take the very freedoms away from us that we so often take for granted. This is Bryce out.